Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Strength Agenda Radio. My name is Tom Soroka. The gentleman to my, I don't know, where would you be? You'd be to my left, you're right. I don't know, pick one, choose a side, is the ever talented John Ziegler. John, good morning, bud. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh,
Handsome man.
I got my leg propped up and I got coffee over here. We're talking about lifting things, so it's a good day.
Yeah. And Shorzy. I'm talking about
We
Shorzy.
were talking about Shorzy. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I need to get caught up on the season. Sounds like you and Rachel are way ahead of me on that.
So good. So good. I've just been telling everybody you got to watch it.
It is a good it's witty. Like I feel like for those who like watch Letterkenny, I feel like it's what Letterkenny could have been.
Hmm.
If I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was COVID. They all got like disinterested in it or whatnot, but and the seasons that happened around COVID really were not great.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
sure like there's so much of that stress
yeah,
around COVID too that everybody was.
and then he launched Shorzy, and it's hysterical. And his, like Jared Kesso's writing is good. Like,
Phenomenal, dude.
yeah,
Like it's absolutely phenomenal. And I tell people, I'm like, if you're not sure, it's literally like imagine Ted Lasso, right? But Ted Lasso is very elegant around uh, football, European football,
yeah, yeah,
um, right? And everybody, because it's very graceful, it's the beautiful game, all that jazz. So there's like that down home humor and aw
yeah,
shucksness. Shorzy is the hockey version of Ted Lasso. And if you know anything about hockey culture
yeah.
and people who like hockey, there is no elegance. There
No,
is no like none of that. Like most of them are missing teeth, like they,
yeah,
so it's, and there's a lot of vulgar, foul language. So if you've got a good sense of humor, you're not easily offended, and you also like feel good stories, it's like the perfect combo.
yeah. And I still to this day will say like the opening monologue of Letterkenny is probably one of the best opening monologues of any show, whatever. If you have not seen that, please go check it out. It's awesome. But yeah, Shorzy's good. Shorzy's really, really
Yeah.
good. I've only seen the first season or two, but I gotta get caught up on the other ones. I'm sure Kara would enjoy that as well. But let's talk about first off updates. We got anything going on that we want to update folks on real quick before we get into the meat of our topics today?
Man, so as far as like updates around everything kind of goes, we put out another. I made the limited edition Daytona T-shirt live
Yeah, yeah,
on the website. So there are two, and maybe this is something worth mentioning. So there's like a couple different governing bodies for masters
yeah, yeah,
weightlifters,
yeah,
right? Each one's having their own worlds.
yep,
And so there's another world happening in Daytona in December. We wanted to put out a T-shirt kind of commemorating Vegas that people could wear beforehand, but unfortunately, I did not get that anywhere near
yeah, yeah,
completed in time. So we do have one though for Daytona. So if you want to support the people going to Daytona and represent like the team and show that support, that's up on the website. We still got the Strength and Unity T-shirt up on the website. That's going to be up for a little bit longer, but it is a limited run shirt. So there's that. As far as programming and everything else goes, I think it's really important to give a shout out to all the people like who have started using the app
yeah,
and following everyday strength training. Like one, it's just phenomenal the support, and we appreciate every single person.
mhm,
Like so really, if you have started using the app, started following the everyday training programs, like thank you from the bottom of
yeah,
our heart. Like it means a ton. The reviews that we're getting from people are great. Talking about how they love the programming, the app is easy to follow. They like the way that it runs. They like the way that they can record their lifts. Like it automatically tracks your progress. So if you go back in, you can pull up your history of, well, what have I
yeah,
done the last 5 weeks on my back squat? It'll show you what you've done the last 5 weeks. So they really enjoy the features, but really more than anything, right? What people keep telling us is this is great. I haven't been this sore in a long time, and I can see real progress. But
Yeah.
I gotta do a thing where I close this window because the lawn maintenance guys are here.
Friday's your day, Tuesdays is our day around here. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been getting a lot of good positive feedback from it. I've been sending you all the messages that I get.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're
from
great.
like that. Yeah, I genuinely greatly appreciate everybody that has signed up for the app, everybody that has participated in it and is following it and everything like that. It means a lot to us. So thank you guys very much for those who subscribe, those who are missing out. That is exactly what you are doing. So go ahead and get on there. Go to our website. You'll see all the pop-ups for, subscribing, getting signed up for the app with your 7-day free trial. And then you'll have access to, I think there's what, 8 programs on there right now, 7, something like that.
Uh, so there's if you're new to kind of lifting or you're just coming back from a long layoff, there's a basic strength plan you can do. That's 8 weeks to help you kind of ramp up back in. There's the Everyday Masters program, which is obviously Olympic weightlifting for masters athletes. We have the Everyday Weightlifting, which is the Olympic weightlifting, Everyday Strength, which is hypertrophy, specific style training, Everyday Power, which is for powerlifting. We've got Russian Masters, like squat cycle. We've got the Russian strength and power cycle in there. We've got a few things. The affiliate programming is getting entered in. We're hoping to have that all in and ready for people outside of the gyms that are already using it, but to have it ready for kind of a wider spread availability by this week. But that didn't happen because we're kind of a 2-man show.
Yeah, right.
Um, so that didn't happen yet, but it's working on it. And then we've got some other stuff going in there too. But I think one of the other things, a great update as well, is the Everyday Performance Nutrition Program, which
Yeah.
athletes are using to help them kind of take that next step in terms of getting to where they want to get to as far as being on the podium and performing and reaching their goals. But if you're just an average, you know, lifter or exerciser that's just looking for a better way to kind of track your food and know what it is you should be eating every week in terms of like your macro breakdowns and all of that, we have a everyday nutrition add-on that is going to be launching. That's kind of like a virtual nutrition coach. So
Yeah.
whereas the current nutrition program has an actual nutrition coach with Coach Jess, the virtual one is a little different, but still great if you're not looking for, specifics around trying to get to the next level. You're just looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
how do I fix my nutrition and
Looking
how
for
do I
accountability and
yeah,
corrections.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. So that's where we're at. I think that's good. That's good for
Cool.
update.
Good deal. Good deal. Appreciate that. And I realized while I was sitting here that I sound like the person that's just like, yeah, like we do these things. I don't even know. I'll let somebody else explain it. It is not that at all. It is just that John is the one that has been putting his blood, sweat, and tears into building the app. And so he knows the ins and outs of the apps, and I would do a disservice trying to explain some of the things, especially the nutrition portion. Like, because we've talked about the nutrition portion. I'm looking at the prompts that you sent me for it right here
Right.
on my second screen. But I'm like, as I'm starting to read these through, I'm like, I'm gonna let him continue to explain this because he's gonna do a way better job of explaining this than I will. But that's why John and I chose to work together, because synergistically we fill the gaps
Yeah.
of what the other person, lacks in. And like I said, with this kind of stuff, when we decided to do the app, John's like, I can build an app. I was like, cool, because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And that is what led us to where we are. So our main topic today, John, is if you follow our social media, we made this post on Wednesday talking about the Spitz strength, or what is it, the Spitz Circle of Progress. For those who don't know, like way back in the day, I trained at California Strength out in San Ramon, California. The California Strength, the business was founded by Dave Spitz. At the time I was there, Glenn Penley was the coach. And it was just, it was a, the best way to describe that environment. Like it was really, it was kind of a pioneer in a lot of ways in the sport of weightlifting because at that time, nobody was doing the things Glenn was doing. We were live streaming training sessions every afternoon training session on Mondays, Wednesdays, excuse me, and Fridays. We would live stream training sessions. We were doing weekly YouTube videos, cataloging what we were doing, our travel, our competitions, training, all this stuff. And then in terms of the environment, like we had some of the top athletes in the world, Donnie Schenkel at that time, who was he was in contention for the Olympics, the 2012 Olympics leading up to it. You had Spencer Morman, who was an American record, a junior American record holder. You had Rob Blackwell, you had John North, who were multiple-time national medalists and things like that. Like we had a wide collection of people um, that were on the team, and with that wide collection brought a lot of personality. So if you've ever seen the West Side versus the World documentaries, that is the best way to describe it. It was the Wild Wild West, a lot of volatile personalities. There was fights, there was challenging each other. There was people who would just randomly show up to training with money and be like, if you can do this, you win this money, sort of a deal. But out of that, I was able to pull a ton that has helped shape and influence my coaching. And one of the biggest things was, when I first started training there, I was 25, 26 years old. And, at that age, John can attest to this, you thought you were indestructible. Nothing can stop you. You're going to continue to make progress. When people talk about like, oh, it's gonna, you're gonna take a downturn. It's like, no, you're not. I'm different, kind of a deal. Everybody's got that mentality. And if you say you don't, you're lying to yourself. But about like 7 to 8 months in there, I had hit a huge roadblock. I just was not hitting like I had made a lot of progress in 8 months there. Like well, I had cleaned 400 pounds for the first time. I was top five in my weight class at nationals. I was getting close. I was pushing that 200 kilo barrier, which was kind of a big deal at the time for weightlifters. And then it was just like I couldn't do anything. Like 150 would be hard, 160 would be hard. So like, barely getting over like the mid 300s. And I just remember sitting in an ice tub one day because we had one of those little cold plunge things in the back of the facility, sitting in there, and I'm sitting there sulking, feeling sorry for myself. And Dave's just like, and no short expression. He's like, what the hell's your problem? And so I just kind of explained to him or whatever. And that's when he explained this little like circle of progress thing. And he goes, listen, man, he goes, if you think everything's linear, he goes, this is not the place for you. He goes, everything's a circle. He goes, especially when it comes to training. And he was like, at the top of the circle is going to be the highs, the low, or the highs, the PRs, the accolades, all of that stuff. At the bottom of the circle is going to be the days where like moving around with an empty barbell is going to feel like the worst thing ever, and that you have no idea how you're going to be able to put any weight on the bar. And then you've got all the filler in between. And his whole point was like the better you got, the bigger that circle got. So that meant that the bigger the circle was, the higher the highs and the lower the lows. And then you and I were, I've had a couple comments, I posted this kind of just showing, just talking about the mentality because,
Yeah.
we get people that come into weightlifting in particular. Weightlifting is a very boring sport. I love the sport, but like I also will call it like it is. It is snatching, it is clean and jerking, it is squatting, it is pulling. Like that is it. It takes a lot of mental energy to diversify the sport, to create, engagement and variety and to keep people excited because essentially especially if you don't compete, and that's kind of the thing. Like we've got a handful of people on the team that compete and stuff like that they for one reason or another it's just not their thing, which is fine. And I've
Right.
had to come up with creative ways to keep those folks engaged because it's just one of those situations where, like the meets provide um that like excitement. You know what I'm saying? Like you have
Yep.
something that you're physically training for, getting ready for. Now, with that does come again, we're talking about that circle, the highs and the lows. Once the meet is over, like post meet blues or post competition blues is a real thing.
Legit.
Like
Yeah.
that like, okay, well, this is over, the high is over, the adrenaline dump is here. Like, what do I do now? And people want to kind of go all over the place and try to do different things, train with different programs and stuff like that. Or like people are like nursing injuries and things along those lines. And that was kind of where you and I started talking. is because, I've had a lot of people coming up to me being like, or not coming up to me, but messaging me or commenting on the post and saying like, hey, thanks, really appreciate that. It's a nice reminder, and then people start asking about like, yeah, I'm dealing with some injuries, and would those be considered like in that low spot? And they 100% are. And then you and I were kind of just talking and commiserating the other day because like for those who don't know, I just had Achilles surgery. So I'm literally sitting here with my leg propped up right now. You've been having some shoulder issues and stuff like that that you've been dealing with and things. So it's just we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of just, add on to that discussion of, dealing with rough patches, dealing with, obstacles in terms of your training when it comes to injuries and stuff like that, and how that we can, how we can, both physically and mentally, navigate those things. So, um, we're going to start off with you, John, in terms of like you can talk about a little bit. I'm curious what like your personal approach is when it comes to that stuff, and then not only your personal approach, but like how do you work with other athletes in that sense? Because
Yeah.
um, coaches can say all the right things to their athletes all day, but it's like when it comes to themselves, it's like sometimes taking your own advice is that much harder. So like how do you navigate between the two, and like what are some things that you've kind of done to kind of keep yourself, going through injuries and stuff along those lines?
Yeah, there's a couple things you said I think that are important to talk about. So one of those things, right, is post-competition blues.
Yeah.
And that kind of exists in a wide array of areas. Like people go to conferences and they get super hyped up at the conference, and then they come back from a conference and they're super excited to share all this stuff with everybody at work, and then reality hits that, oh, I'm still stuck at a desk doing this thing on a regular basis, and they get a little bummed. Post competition blues 100% happen. And even for people who are spectators, right? Like Rachel and I have gone and watched the CrossFit Games a number of years when they were in Madison. And you go up there, you spend an entire week watching people compete and being around other, people who are fit and everything else. And you're super happy and you get all this adrenaline and all this oxytocin like dumping into your body, right? And then all of a sudden you get back and you're like, oh. So I think that one of the most important things that people can do is anticipate and prepare for that experience to happen. Like know that when you're coming back from something, like coming back from competing, coming back from coaching at a competition, coming back from, traveling to and from, like you may be excited to be home, but be prepared to have that little bit of downtime,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Where you're not at your peak, where you're kind of
And,
like,
and
I'm drained.
give yourself that downtime.
Yes, yes.
Because like that's like I mean that's one of the things like you and I talked about coming back from Vegas, like we weren't competing, but like the mental toll of that week, was very prevalent. And
Yeah.
you and I each like I'm pretty sure it was like 3-4 days before you and I like got in touch or whatever, because we were just kind of
Mm-hmm.
just doing our own thing, just kind of getting back into a groove and stuff like that. So yeah, no, like I just wanted to make that point to make sure that you give yourself that time.
Yeah. Like you should schedule it in.
Because
Uh,
like these people, because I've watched a couple of people that have just like gotten right back into training,
yeah.
or like gotten right back. Like there was one girl that I helped. She's a powerhouse, but like, and I helped her on like the last day, I think Saturday or whatever. She, clean and jerking ridiculous amounts of weights, and then like I look on social media, and on Tuesday she's back in the gym doing like muscle ups because she's got another competition coming up that she signed up for something, and I'm just like,
Right.
damn girl, like you are a robot.
I think that's a lot more common with, like, not saying it's not common in the weightlifting community, but I definitely see it, coaching out of a CrossFit gym, coaching, Olympic lifting out of a CrossFit gym. You talk to people that compete on a semi-regular basis because there's always some CrossFit competition going on somewhere, and they get done competing all weekend, and Monday they're back in the gym like hitting it hard. And I'm like, hey, there's going to be a shelf, right? there's
Hmm.
a there's a time limit on what you're doing. Like you were talking about earlier, I was the same way. Like in my 20s, you could not tell me that I could break.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assumed I was like the real life version of Wolverine.
Yeah, right.
I would just heal instantly and be right back at it, and it didn't matter. Like I was good and fearlessly stupid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like you're willing to take on all these different things. And you're like, whatever, I'm gonna go hard all the time in everything I do. And you know, as you get older, you start to realize, well, I'm not completely immortal.
Yeah.
I'm not completely invincible. And then you get a little bit older and you're like, oh shit, I gotta be careful. And I think for myself, so like I'll touch on the how do I handle it for myself? So I'm human like anybody else. And when I start to feel beat up because this is such a big part of my life,
Right.
the emotional hit can be pretty hard
Yeah.
when you're like, I'm beat up, I can't do the things that I want to do. So I need to be like I need to do something. Like I got to take a
Right.
little downtime. I need to probably go see the chiropractor or go get a massage or go to PT even if it's necessary for
Right.
depending on how banged up I am, so that I can get back to the point where I can start doing things. And there's a certain point where you're like, I need to move though. I think the biggest downfall that I see with people who are banged up
Hmm.
that is they aggravate it by stopping completely and
Yes.
totally and
For
being
sure.
like, I'm just gonna sit on the couch and wait until this passes. It's like, no, you need to figure out how to move.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things that I tell my people. They're like, I'm dealing with a knee issue. Okay, well, let's do box squats instead of full squats,
Yeah.
right? Let's get to a range of motion that you feel okay at, and then we can lighten the load as well. And instead of sticking to percentages, why don't we do a little load to feel today?
Hmm.
And once you feel that, like, oh nope, that didn't feel very good. Okay, back the weight down to the last weight that it felt good at, and let's wrap up from there.
And that's, I think that's an interesting, or not interesting, but like that's a very important point to be making because one of the things that Glenn when and so like I'm always going to reference like the coaches that I had.
Yeah,
I was very fortunate to have three of the best, and Glenn Penley, Don McCauley, Travis Mash. Um, even and somebody tried calling me out the other day. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to talk about Dave." Dave never coached me. When I was at California Strength, Dave was running the facilities, but like Dave had no intentions to coach. Like at the time, he wasn't coaching the weightlifters. Like I know he coaches there now or did,
right.
but like,
Yeah,
he was never the coach when I was there. So it is not a sleight of hand at Dave. Um, I never learned from Dave about weightlifting. I learned from Dave about business and other stuff because those were the conversations that Dave and I had. So getting that out of the way. But one of the things that Glenn and Don in particular were super like passionate about was something is always better than nothing. So like case in point, like I remember I caught a clean wrong. Um, Everybody has done it where you hit your elbow on your knee. And I jacked up my wrist, like could not go overhead, could not, whatever. Went to the doctor, got it checked out. They put me in a brace. And so Glenn's like, okay, what can you do? And we kind of were going through, the processes and stuff like that. So I did a squat program. I did a squat program, and it was essentially that whole thing led to what is now our roll-off program that we run. Just because I ran one wave of it, and then after I did that, I think it was about halfway through that we started adding pulls back in because I had a cast or not a cast, I had a brace with like a plastic piece around here or whatever. So we
yeah,
realized, and it was funny because this was before figure eight straps became a thing, and Glenn just fashioned a loop. Like he took a piece of like a lifting strap, cut it, and then just made a big loop. And then I put my one hand through, put the loop underneath, and like put it over the top of my hand. And that was how I was holding on to the bar. And so
Right.
we would just start doing pulls and stuff like that. And so as and the reason for that too was we were getting ready for the Arnold. Like I did this injury, I hurt my wrist in like end of December, beginning of January, and the Arnold is always like the first weekend in March. So like you didn't have a lot of time, and like I had already registered, they weren't going to give me my money back for the registration fee. So like I wanted to continue to train and do as best as I could. And so these were just the things that we did. And that's kind of my thing with my athletes now. That was one of the big positives that I always took away. Like, case in point, we have an athlete who is not going to be able to compete at Mid-Americans. He went to go get a blood draw, and I I don't know how this is possible, but like they nicked a nerve in his shoulder or in his arm. And so like he messages me and he's like, "Hey man, like I can't do anything." Like so essentially like I just gave him a list of like non-overhead things to do to see
Right.
how
Yeah.
like, squatting was one of those things that he could do really well. I asked about poles. He said poles like cause pain, so poles were out. And so he's running a squat program right now. Like he's bummed that he's got to miss mid-ams because we're 4 weeks out, and I just like in 2 weeks we haven't seen much improvement. And in similar situations, like Megan after she hurt herself, not hurt herself, but she hit her knee pretty freaking hard on one of her lifts, and her knee was kind of like throbbing and bugging. And until she can go get it checked out, I switched her over, put her on an upper body only program,
Yeah.
just kind of making sure that you're still able to train something and do something. And like you
Yeah.
said, CrossFit pushed this, a long time ago, and people try to, bash CrossFit for all the things, but like these are some of these little things, like their big thing about movement is medicine. Like it really is. Blood flow is
For
king.
sure.
That was why, like, with my Achilles surgery, I was telling you, like, I ramped up the amount of training I was doing leading up to it. Now, obviously, like, I didn't get to do much training in Vegas and stuff like that. But like before Vegas, I was training 4 or 5 days a week. Wasn't crazy, but it was just, I was trying to do as much as I possibly can to, get my body, prepared essentially for this surgery
Yeah.
because I was going to be laid up. And like, as a result of all that stuff, like they were telling me like I'm non-weight bearing for 6 weeks, which for those who know me know that that is just agonizing. Legs has become one of my favorite things to train. I love squatting, I love pulling, and to be not be able to do those things, like I hate training upper body. People don't believe me when I say that, but like if I get to pick something to train, it is not going to be like you will. If you see me bench pressing, just ask me if everything is okay, because I just don't like it. Um, but it's just one of those situations where because of all of the GPP, the physical preparedness that I had,
Right. Yeah.
by the end of last week, which is I had the surgery on the Monday, by like Thursday, I was moving around. I was posting videos and stuff like that. Like I was trying to be more mobile and moving as much as I possibly can. I got this little peg leg thing here that's been super helpful. And like Saturday, I went back into work. It was only for an hour, but like I got up, did the whole thing, went in and stuff like that. I was exhausted after the fact. And then like this week has been pretty much a normal week. Like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, afternoons are my days I go into my other job. Was able to do that stuff. I even did like a light band session, and that was more just an exploratory thing, like you and I were talking about, like
Sure. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've never had like let me phrase that. It's been over 10 years since I've had a lower leg injury where I've been like hobbled up, So just trying to figure out what I can and can't do. So like Tuesday, I kind of went into, the garage, I grabbed all my bands, and I just kind of sat there and just played around with a bunch of stuff, being like, can I do this? What can I do here? Can I do like, how does this work? And all that stuff. And like, thankfully, I have another job where I've got access to machines and stuff like that too. So kind of just right now I'm doing a little bit of exploring, but like next week, my plan is to start getting into a regular training program of doing things that I am capable of doing. I'm still going to be able to train legs because I
Yeah.
do have hard cast on and stuff. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where like anytime, I hear of an athlete having an injury or I have some sort of an injury or an issue, that voice of Glenn's in the back of my head and people are going to know exactly when I do this impersonation where he's just sitting there at his desk grabbing his lip, like the little hair in his lip, and he goes, "Well, what can you do?" And that's like I hear that every time, like I'm going through that, whether it's with an athlete, myself, even when you and I were talking, and I was just saying, like, I
Yeah,
was like, hey, like, what things with your shoulder, like, can you do? Because try to do some of that stuff, like, because the beautiful thing about the body or the human body is the joints move in so many different planes.
hmm
Shoulders in particular, you've got flexion, you've got extension, you've got overhead, flexion, overhead extension, horizontal. You can, twisting, pronation, supination,
yeah,
different stuff that you can do with the shoulder to still get it to work and do things without causing physical pain.
yeah,
And so it's just, dealing with energy, and it's a lot easier said than done, but like just try to figure out the things you can do, even like if it's just walking, you know what I'm saying?
for
Uh,
sure. Yeah,
like walking is such an this sounds like, 20, 30-year-old me would be like, man, who the hell is this guy? Like, I miss walking. Like
yeah,
because like if I couldn't get to the gym or just had it was a really chaotic day, but like I had 15, 20 minutes. I've got a beautiful mile long trail around where I live right now. And it takes me about 15, 20 minutes to do a lap around there. And so I would just be like, you want to go for a walk? And I go do a lap, like get some sun, get some fresh air, get some movement, get my steps in and stuff like that. Like just movement is medicine. And then do what can you do, with whatever it is that you're dealing with.
yeah. And I think, one of the things that I learned, and I've, I've had the privilege of learning from a lot of people as well. And the other thing too is I've become friends with, chiropractors, and
Yeah.
talked to them, and we've talked about what can the human body do when somebody is in a position where they can't move in a certain way, like and one of the things uh, that I really think, when you get hurt, you can have a mentality of either defeatism or curiosity.
Mhm.
And the curiosity piece is really powerful, because as you're talking, right, you think about like the shoulder. So if I'm trying to bench, and benching on a straight bar is at the bottom of the range of motion, creating pain, right? You can take dumbbells and give
Mhm.
yourself a freer range of motion and kind of adjust your
Yeah.
elbows until you find that position of like, oh, this position doesn't cause me pain. So I can kind of train through here. And one of the other things that I've learned over the years through multiple conversations and people
And even
from
And real quick, even with that bench press, just like because some jackwagon's gonna be like, well, what if I don't have dumbbells or if I don't have blah 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 blah. With a regular barbell in and of itself, change the range of motion.
yeah, go wider.
Like either wider grips, closer grip, bottom up presses where you're finding a pin height that you can set the bar
How about
to
this one?
press.
Change your fucking weight.
Well, that too.
So many
Or
people, like when we're talking about those guys, right?
or
They're like,
or
well, I
you could
gotta
do
bench this. You're like, tell you what, lighten it up, slow your tempo down, pause on the chest.
I was just about to put you on blast for that bullshit. Um, John had me do a bench press workout not too long because I was following the affiliate program. And anybody that is, a bench aficionado or loves benching, I would recommend this because I hate benching and I thoroughly hated this just as much, if not more. But I was sore as shit. Like I know people were making fun of me in the gym because I barely had 135 pounds on the bar. I'm not a great bench presser. I'm like mid threes on a great day. But yeah, John had me doing what was it? It was 12, 10, 8, 6 reps with a 3 count descent.
Negative. Yep.
First off, I don't know if people understand how hard it is to count 3, 2, 1, 1, and then press 3, 2, 1, 2. Like I lost track of my reps so many times. I'm pretty sure one of my sets I did 15 when it was supposed to be 10 because I just kept losing track of count because I'm an idiot. But yeah, I was just gonna say tempos. I'm huge on tempos with the Olympic lifts, with pausing, but like that, like
Yeah.
we're just using this bench press as an example here. But like if you're going to be a stick in the mud, and we only have a barbell, we literally have given you about 5 or 6 different variations that you could do with just an empty barbell. You know, changing your grip, wide grip, close grip, pin presses, floor presses,
Pin presses. Floor
tempo,
presses are
pause.
great.
Yeah, tempo, pause. So there's 5 or 6 variations we just gave you right there that are
Yeah.
still going to allow you to train the bench. And when we're talking about using those different variations to find something that allows you to lift without pain, that still allows you to get some stimulus of the exercise, still gets some movement in there. And that same approach can be taken to any exercises. And I'm sure that people can do the same for you, John. But like if you're like watching this and you're like, hey, I got a question about this, shoot me a message.
Yeah.
I will give you a ton of different variations because like John and I like your work with Thunder Bro. Like uh,
Yeah.
there are rep schemes that I use with our lifters, you know, for accessory work and stuff like that that I got from Dave. Like it's just
Yeah.
the 15 12 9 6, like, you know,
100%.
increasing weight, lowering reps types of things. Like I never thought to do that with accessory work. I always thought that was a main lift type deal. And especially if you've got a ton of bands and dumbbells and stuff like that, it makes it like easy, and it just extrapolates out how much you can do with an exercise, especially if you're dealing with an injury. Like right now,
Yeah.
I've got a couple kettlebells downstairs. I got a barbell. I've got plates. I've got every band known to man thanks to Serious Steel. And I've got so much variety to do stuff right now. Like I don't need much else. It takes a little bit of brain power, takes a little bit of thinking and stuff like that, but it's not impossible to get that work done.
Yeah. And I'm glad you kind of brought up like the Thunderbro and Dave stuff, right? So Dave, like having, worked with Dave for as long as I have within his company, I got to train with Dave. I got to listen to kind of Dave's thought process and learn from Dave in terms of training stuff. And
Yeah.
Dave, I got to give Dave, a big shout out because Dave's the one who really points to a lot of times like, hey, you can make lighter weight absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're coming back, so I don't know if a lot of people know, like Dave, Dave had broken his back
Mhm.
and they had told him, hey, you can't squat, you can't do all these things. And he was like, that's not going to work for me because that's the most depressing life I can even possibly imagine. And so, he got, that's kind of what led him into bodybuilding and where he is now. But
Yeah.
what it really showed him was the power of like, hey, if you take lightweight and you focus on the movement and pay attention to your body and
Mhm.
slow it way down and add in those tempos and add in the pauses, not only are you going to do a really nice job of keeping blood flow going through your
Yeah.
body and protecting yourself from further aggravating an injury, but you're going to put yourself on a faster track to come back,
Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
And that's so important because what you're not allowing to have happen by doing these things and slowing it down and using lighter weight is you're not allowing your supportive muscles and my brain's missing shitting out the word that I'm trying to actually come up with, but you're not allowing those other muscles to atrophy
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well, right? Here's another thing that I think we have to talk about that is super, super critical. And that is if it should happen no matter what. If you're feeling good, this is something you should be doing. But if you're going through a spot where you're like sore, you're beat up, you're injured, you're dealing with something like that, not only like look at modifying things, but have a very thoughtful, purposeful warm up and afterwards, make sure that you are taking some time to stretch that warm muscle
Oh,
and
geez.
and mobilize a bit so that it doesn't just say, well, I'm fucking pissed off and now I'm more pissed off because it's just going to tighten up again and then it's going to feel worse and then you're going to get into this headspace of like, well, nothing works.
Exactly.
Um, so make sure that you're doing that. Make sure you're drinking all of your water. If it's bad, and we're talking if it's bad, bad,
Yeah.
go see a PT.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
go to they have places all over the United States. Go to Athletico
Yeah.
and
Right.
see a PT to get moving again. Go see a chiropractor, whether you like chiropractors or not, whatever your thought process is on them.
Right.
Like
Well,
they're they're amazing. Get a
like even
massage.
like when you're talking about chiropractic, like they have the joint now. The joint's one of those chains where it's I think it's like
Yep.
75, $85 a month or something. They've got locations everywhere. You can drop in all across the country. Like when I was really heavy traveling, competing and coaching and stuff like that, I was using them all the time. And it's a great resource to have. Like there are options out there. People just need to do a little bit of legwork to do it. So
Yeah. And also, I think the other thing too is like when you're injured, a lot of people don't think about, the other movements, like you were talking about, like not only the other movements that you can be doing. So if you can't press overhead, can you press
yeah,
at all? Right? If you can't do anything upper body wise, like what can you do lower body wise? And if you need to
right.
go to a Planet Fitness and use machines,
Yeah.
then go to a Planet Fitness and use machines. But I think the other thing that some people will tend to miss on is, hey, like your
Oh yeah.
core strength, right, is super critical in everything that you do. CrossFit made it real apparent and talked about it religiously a long time ago. I don't hear it quite as much anymore, but that core to extremity movement,
Oh yeah. I
right?
talk about it when I'm doing my like level ones and stuff like that. And like cord extremity is huge. And that's honestly, it's funny you mentioned that because that's really, I'm not gonna lie to you, like after that exploratory phase, like I like or the day or whatever, I really haven't done much, but I have been doing some core stuff. Like I
Yeah.
am able to hold a plank position. I'm able to do some sit-ups. Um I hate bench pressing so much that I don't want to do push-ups. But like I've been doing, some sit-ups, I've been doing some planks, I've been doing some side planks and stuff like that. Obviously, I can't be non-weight bearing on my leg, but those are
Right.
little things
Yeah.
I can be doing just to get something done because I am just at this stage, I'm getting bored, you know. Uh,
Well,
I'm getting bored, and like my normal break from work was to go for a walk or to
yeah.
go work out. And so
And
I
I
need,
think the non-weight bearing thing, when people hear that in terms of like non-weight bearing and like, well, everything is weight bearing. Man, to an extent, like
no,
you can still do like pin press, a
yeah,
seated pin press. Like there's a ton of
yeah,
stuff you can do seated that doesn't require like
yeah.
weight bearing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And when and for those who are, whatever, when it's non-weight bearing, it's like I cannot put my foot on the ground.
right.
Like that's really like I can put my good foot on the ground, and but like I can't be they don't want me like trying to walk on it. I mean, it's also kind of funny. I
Right.
feel like my doctor knew I was going to be pushing some shit because he's put my foot at an angle like this. So like
You can't do it.
even if I did try to walk, I'd be like breaking my toes because of how the cast is set up. Because I'd be lying to you. I've tried already. Like I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can
Of
put my foot on
course
the ground.
you have, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's like that sled injury that I got. Like you've seen the scar from that, where
yeah,
something like I was at so people know, like I was at a workout and I was in front of a sled, like hooking something up, and a bunch of people were behind, and they pushed the sled. It ran into my ankle and basically destroyed my ankle. And the
yeah,
doc that I had, like, he put me in a boot. He's like, you can walk in a boot. He's like, but obviously you can't do all the other things. When the boot finally came off, and I go, okay, is there anything like I can't do now that the boot is off? And he goes, nothing that you're gonna fucking listen to.
yeah, right.
I was like, all right, well, that's fair. He's like,
Yeah, it was just funny because like I said, I saw that and I was just like because you had I had a temp cast the first week. And I
right.
was like, oh, it's just a 10 cast because of the surgery or whatever. Then when they went to do the hard cast, I was like, oh, I was like, you're doing that fucking angle. He goes, yeah, it's for precautionary measures. And he just continued to like wrap it. I was just like, oh, you know what the fuck's about to happen here. Because
Um,
so
I think is where so we got to start wrapping up.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think one of the things to really like we've brushed it a little bit. We've kind of talked around it a little bit, but I want to bring it up. Like I'm 52. Tom's not a spring
Damn.
chicken, but he's not as old as I am. Right? So and the reason I bring up the age thing is like if you're doing this for a long period of time, time is undefeated. It just is. And as you get older, right, it's super important to continue to lift and to stay strong and to take care of your
Yeah,
heart and to go for walks, right? If you don't
yeah.
like to run, going for walks, and all of those things matter. Injuries and little things that start creeping up happen more often.
Yeah, yeah.
And as such, right, we have to be aware of those and we need to make sure that we are like taking some extra time for mobility work because it will minimize like how often those things happen. We have to make sure that we are really focused on the quality of movement
Yes.
as opposed to the weight sometimes so that we minimize those things. Because man, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be real honest. I like my back gets tweaked when I sneeze or twist the wrong way to tie my shoe.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
You were sitting in the car with me when I thought I pulled something in my neck when we were driving back to like I sneezed weird. I was like looking at just make sure somebody was coming, and then I sneezed and I went, ah shit. And you're like, you okay? I was like, ah, I think I might have pulled something in my neck. Like, yeah, that shit happens. Like,
No. So, just like listen to your body better. And if
yes,
you're going through, and we've talked a lot about this from the injury standpoint, but I want to say this really quick. If you're going through like the rough patch for performance, right? Where you're like, man, I'm barely hitting 80% for the last like 3 weeks, and anything over 90 is not happening. And, you know, like talk to your coach, have an honest conversation about what's going on because they're going to give you some a good coach, a good coach who knows what they're doing. They're going to help you make it through that rough patch. And a rough patch is exactly that, right? It's a
and
rough
yeah,
patch.
and keep in mind too, though, like if you have a coach that tells you what you don't want to hear, you've got a good coach.
Yes.
Because like you're paying them
Yes.
for their expertise, you're paying them for their knowledge, you're paying them for, them to guide you in the ways that so you don't make the same mistakes they did. So if they're telling you to do something, it's okay to ask why,
Yeah.
like ask for like the method behind the madness. And then if the
Mm.
coach says, because I said so, I take back what I said.
Yeah.
But because if they can't explain the reasoning behind their decision, then like they're doing you a huge disservice. But yeah, like just trust your coach, and like I said, if you have a coach that is not gonna is gonna tell you what you don't want to hear, like you've got a good coach, and just listen to that coach.
And the other thing I'm going to say with that too is if you ask your coach something and they say, I don't know the answer to that, but
Yes,
I'll find out for you.
I do that all the time.
Yep. Same. Right. I like, don't take that as like a coach who isn't as good as somebody who's
Yeah,
like, let me spit this answer out at you because that answer could be bullshit. I've seen
yeah,
a lot of coaches, especially early on in their coaching careers,
oh yeah,
afraid of looking like they don't know. So they just rattle off some bullshit. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them like, where the fuck did you hear that
yeah,
garbage from?
yes,
Right? Somebody who has the wherewithal and the humility to be able to tell you, like, I don't know, that's a really good question. I've never come across that. Let me go ahead and see if I can find that out for you. I'm not going to find it out right now because we're in the middle of a training session, but
right,
I'll figure it out. And then they go
absolutely,
and figure it out and they come back. Like that's a great mark of a coach, a leader, like so many of those like qualities. And we do executive leadership coaching as well.
oh yeah,
And, you know, that's one of the things that I tell people who are executives or business owners. And I said, quit trying to look like you have all the answers,
yeah,
right? And instead just be willing to go and find them. There,
100%,
people will follow you to the ends of the earth with that.
absolutely,
Um, all right. I think that's good. We've
yeah.
been talking
So
people's ears off forever.
yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that helped people out. Like I said, just to kind of recap,
Um,
when it comes to your rough patches and stuff like that, whether it's a mental thing, injuries in particular, post count blues or whatever. Movement is medicine, plain and simple. You don't have to be sitting there maxing out or going crazy in your training, but just getting something done that is going to, because at the end of the day, scientifically speaking, endorphins are released whenever you work out and move and stuff like that. When it comes to injuries, figure out what you can do. I highly recommend doing an exploratory couple of sessions, just seeing what
Yes.
things hurt, what things don't hurt. Talk to your coach, put a plan together so you can continue to train everything
Yeah.
else that is going on. There is a lot of, again, scientifically speaking, there is a lot of research that dictates with like arm injuries or leg injuries. If you continue to train the other arm and the other leg, the atrophy is going to be a lot less on that affected leg because
Yeah.
you are getting the work in and stuff like that. And you're going to bounce back once those casts and braces are off, from there. And then, like, lastly, listen to your damn coach. Create a network of
Mhm.
people, even if it's just a bunch of bros or girlfriends or whatever that are just going to be there. Like, I messaged a bunch of people. John was one of them, and just saying like, hey, for the next few weeks, if you could just check in when and ask me anything about, not work related. I just need a little bit. I created a little bit of a mental, wellness, group for myself. And it was
Yeah.
4 or 5 guys that I messaged. Those who they are, they know who they are, and I appreciate them because they message and just say, "Hey, how are things going?"
Yeah.
Those things are going to help you get out of those rough patches faster than anything else. So just make sure you're just doing your due diligence. Listen to your damn body, especially as you're getting older and stuff like that, because we're not Superman. And just take care of the person around you. All right. Um, as always, please make sure you guys get signed up for the app. Go to www.thestrengthagenda.com. Check out our apparel. The Strength and Unity tee is not going to be up for much longer, maybe another month or two. We've got the Daytona shirts that are live. The app is going up. We're going to be uploading more and more programs on there as we speak. John's got the affiliate program. I have a deadlift program that is done that needs to get put in there. And then we're going to start uploading a bunch of our other specialties things in there as well. So get that in there. Go ahead and check that out. Appreciate your guys' support as always. We will talk to you at the next one. See ya.
I guess.